The ego, that tricky little dude, loves to control and manage and box and label and categorize our healing, especially into these neat little packages of perfection. And it's okay, cool, I did my thing, tick the box, now I can file it in the back of my head and not have to think about it. Okay, cool, I did my yoga, I did my meditation, I did my journaling, I took my vitamins, and now I'm the perfect picture of health, and I never have to do any deeper work because, I did all my practices, so now I'm good, right? And while all of these practices are amazing and I do them regularly all the time, they are great for deepening in self-awareness and learning to understand yourself and understand your patterns and where your blocks may be, they are not the ways in which you're going to heal those blocks. So they are ways in which you are able to look at and confront and have the capacity to see clearly. But unfortunately, those blocks require a much deeper commitment, a much deeper level of self-intimacy, self-awareness, and what we call in the healing world shadow work, which is really when you have to come face to face and confront all the parts of yourself that you have shamed and pushed away because you do not deem them acceptable. Because all of the blockages are living in the subconscious. And you've probably heard me say this before, but 95% of your daily actions, thoughts, ideas, everything comes from your subconscious. 95%, which means only 5% of your thoughts, actions, ideas are conscious. And so your subconscious is programmed and created from the ages of 0 to 7. And so after then, you start acting from your subconscious space. It's kind of like a computer program. It runs the same program again and again and again until it gets a new software update. And so the only way to give our brains and our bodies a software update is to do the deep, dark shadow work, subconscious work. And so the subconscious is in connection to the body. And so that's why things like talk therapy and meditation, while they're great, they're not actually going to help you heal the trauma, heal the blockages, heal the resistance, heal the people pleasing and the lack of confidence and the lack of, feeling like you can take up space and be your authentic self and speak your truth in the world and stand up for yourself. And so that's why we have to work with the body. We have to do these somatic based practices. And the more non-linear they are, the more non-rational they are, the more they're going to activate the primal body. And the primal body is the part of you that holds the keys to your healing. And so really it comes down to being more present in your body than you are in your mind. But often what happens is people don't know how to be in their bodies because we're so conditioned to be in our minds and we live very in the head and we're rational and we're, constantly analyzing and working and on the computers and blah, blah, blah. But also it's hard for you to be in your body when your body is still holding so much stored trauma from your childhood that you never bothered somatically processing. And when I say somatic, I mean processing through movement, sound, and breath, releasing it in cathartic ways, through sweating, through crying, through grieving, through emoting, right? And so if we have not made space for that, then there's still going to be too much gunk in the body. And so when we are in practices like talk therapy and we're talking about our trauma and our emotions and what's happened to us, we are still accessing that information through the left brain, through the ego, through the analyzing side of ourselves. And so in my experience, the fastest way to dismantle anything is from the inside out, not the outside in. And so if we are trying to analyze our feelings, we're working from the outside in. But that's why healing is all about feeling and going into the emotions and the trauma and the blocks and the resistance so we can dissolve it from the inside out. And this is why it's so difficult for the ego, because the ego does not understand how to feel. It is very difficult for the ego. So for a human who's very attached to their ego identity to feel out of control, to be able to admit, I don't know, I feel lost, I feel confused. And so that's why it's so much easier to just push it away and be like, I don't need that. I don't need to do healing. I don't need to go to therapy. I don't need to confront myself in this way, because it's so much easier to just ignore it, or is it, than it is to confront it. But what happens is the more you suppress and ignore and push it down, it just builds up and becomes the snowball effect that then comes out, and especially for women, in places like the womb, in difficult menstrual cycles, difficult periods, emotional overreaction, PMS, all of that. It's very hard for us to call out our own ego, to see ourselves outside of ourselves, because we are essentially our egos all the time. And so it's very hard to separate the self from the ego. It is possible, and that's why meditation practices are powerful, because they help us do this. But on a day-to-day basis, it's very, very hard for us to separate ourselves from the ego. And so it's much easier for someone else to say, hey, that was a very ego-based comment or desire or need or whatever, like that is definitely coming more from ego than it is from soul, right? And so the ultimate goal is to move more from soul than it is from ego, more from heart, more from body, more from feeling. And so that's why y'all need to work with me, because I can help you do this. I can help you deconstruct your ego. I can help you heal.